it was an action-packed match day 28, and of course, we saw lots of action from VAR in the games that took place on Saturday. And of course, as usual, we discussed them in our arguments episode. First off, Victor, Tyler Adams fouled Zaka just before the hour mark, but the referee, Jared Gillett, decided not to send off the player. What do you think of that decision?
We've seen so many of these calls this season where they get some of the ball and then they just go studs straight onto ankle or calf or something. And of course, it wasn't as bad of a challenge as we saw, for instance, Xavi Simons on Virgil van Dijk, right, a few weeks ago. That one was absolutely blatant. I feel like a yellow card is okay for this one. Like, I could say correct decision, but at the same time, we have seen very similar challenges punished with reds this season. I'm not saying that's the way forward, but if you want consistency, then it's the wrong decision. Then again, we haven't had consistency this season, so I'm going to stick with my initial verdict of correct decision, yellow card, and no further action.
Max, your take on this one?
I'd say it's like more of an orange card, but closer to a yellow, I'd say. But yeah, the fact that Victor already mentioned that this season we had a lot of moments like that and it was punished a red card, so it kind of makes my mind shaking, and I would probably stick to yellow here, but I mean, we have pretty terrible referee in this season, so I have to go with yellow.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those moments where, for me, you can use discretion. I mean, if you are going strictly by the playbook, you can say it's a red, but looking at how the sequence of events, you can give it a yellow and it doesn't seem like a scandal to me. At least to me, you can give it a yellow and you can pass on that one. But yeah, it's open to interpretation anyways. But this second incident is one that robbed us of one of the most insane scorelines of probably this season, you know, in what could have been a very, very deciding 8-goal thriller between Burnley and Brentford. We were denied, you know, that 8-goal scoreline because in the 97th minute, the referee needed almost 5 minutes to check for a handball, and then the goal was eventually cancelled. So 2 questions in one, Victor. First off, what do you think of the long pause here? And also the fact that the referee did not even go over to VAR to check and just trusted the verdict immediately.
Can we say bullshit on our podcast? We can say, right? Yeah, absolute bullshit. So let me put it like this. The decision itself is correct. It seemed very much like he knew exactly what he was doing there with his arm. Yeah. I don't feel like the goal should have stood. I think it's the correct decision, although it is a bit open to interpretation, but all in all, correct decision. However, the length of time needed to check this was absolutely inexcusable. At this point, just scrap VAR. If we're doing this sort of thing for 5 minutes and you still can't really tell properly, just scrap the whole damn thing. And as for the fact that he wasn't actually invited to the pitch side monitor, it's not an offside call. It's not a black or white thing. It's quite a subjective decision. Why would you not recommend to, like, maybe he was recommended, but he was like, I want to beat the traffic, you know, and let's end things early. What is this? What are we doing here? It makes no sense.
Max, your take on this one?
I have too many things to discuss here because, first of all, I watched like maybe 30 times the replay because it was showing like 30 times on the live stream, and I can't really say that there was a handball even, because when I was watching Dorgo moment, for example, there was pretty much the same situation when he scored and it stood. And the second of all, I mean, it took 5 minutes for VAR to find at least something close to the arm, and then you're not even going to watch that, and you're just trusting them. I mean, if it took them 5 minutes to find at least a potential handball, I mean, why would you cut it? And why wouldn't you go to watch that? I'd say overall it's a terrible decision. I would probably go with Burnley's side and say there was no handball.
Well, in my own opinion, at least, I like what Victor said in the first question. If we're to go with consistency, although there is no consistency, so I can't go by consistency in this case. But honestly, in my own opinion, when an incident takes more than 2 minutes, it means to me that they are clutching at straws. They are trying so hard to find something that is not clear and obvious, in my opinion. That's what I feel. So if it's taking 5 minutes, it seems to me like there's no case there. And the fact that the referee did not go over to the VAR is to make it less of a standard. Oh, I followed what I was told, right? Because how could you go in there and also not spot it as well? So to me, based on how everything went, it's the wrong decision. But then also it also looked like I mean, he knew what he was doing, but I'm sticking with wrong decision regardless.
If I may just say this, put this point out there, I just feel like with the comparison to the Dorgu incident, it's a valid point. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's just much more obvious, at least to me, especially after having watched it, as you said, 30 times because they kept showing it. It's much more of a handball, this one, than the Dorgu thing. The arm was a bit further away from the body than on the Dorgu incident. It's a more obvious handball, but the fact that the ref didn't go and check it, that was just...
You know why you probably
Wow.
feel like that? Just because after the ball hit his, I don't know, stomach, he pulled the hand back, and in the same time when ball hit his body, and it probably feels like he played with the arm. But when you looking from the other direction of the camera, it kind of feels like he didn't. So you're taking 5 minutes to find the little contact. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's very much Schrodinger's handball. This it either was or wasn't. You don't know until the decision comes.
Exactly. And just on the final note from the incident which took place in Saturday's game, there was also another intense game between Newcastle and Everton. And this time, Tarkowski handled the ball, in his own penalty area, but the referee did not award a penalty and did not even bother to check, the VAR screen. Victor, your take on this one?
Because it's Everton and I'm a Liverpool fan, I would have loved to see a penalty given here. No, I'm kidding, of course. But I would say correct decision. And the reason for this is he wasn't watching the ball like how the case was with Burnley. He wasn't watching the ball. The arm was not exactly in an unnatural position. And I feel like his starting position with the arm was here. Had it been like this, it would have still struck his arm, and then it would have been absolutely no problem because the arm would have been tucked in. So I don't think it makes any difference in the grand scheme of things as to whether it would have or would have not hit his arm. It would have hit his arm anyway. And his eyes were closed because he was going for a header. So that's not a factor either. He wasn't deliberately making a play with his arm for the ball. So I say correct decision.
Interesting take. Max, your opinion?
I would actually go opposite because, yes, you showed the arm was like that and in front of... The reason why he had hand was in this position because he was trying to push the other player and putting the arms on his back. And it's obviously your problem that you're pushing the other guy and ball hits your arm. And actually, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like in this situation, if your hand is obviously making your body bigger because you're staying straight, and it was going somewhere to the opponent's player, it has to be a penalty, but at least you have to watch that. And in overall situation in the box, I'd say that he fouled and it was a handball and it should have been a penalty.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards what Max said as well. If going by what Victor said, even if your arm is in a natural position and at the end of the day, it did not significantly impact the direction of the ball after crossing your arm, then maybe we can say correct decision. But just like Max mentioned, it would have gone to the opposition player if not for the arm. And based on the sequence of events, to me, it's in the penalty box for crying out loud. So I think that should be given any day. That should be given. I mean, anywhere else on the pitch, maybe it can be overlooked, but in the box, I think it should be a penalty in my opinion. But anyways, on that note, we'll ask our viewers to join us in the conversation for these three incidents: Tyler Adams' foul on Zaka, the handball by Barnes, and also Tarkowski handling the ball in the penalty area. Tell us what you think about this incident, and we'll be sure to respond in the comment section.